Well, this is an interesting Friday video because we have a mix, of course, of horrendous news for Canadians that Justin Trudeau is screwing our economy even further and blaming people. But in a weird surprise turn of events, we actually have some, good news. Good things have happened in Canada. Sort of. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I want to encourage everyone to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. We're on route to 293,000 subscribers, and the only way I can get there is if you guys, the audience, take the leap of faith and subscribe to the channel. And speaking of subscribing, I do have an extra channel, which is linked down below in the description or the pinned comment below, where I cover a bunch of videos and topics about things happening in Canada that I just can't fit into my singular video per day on here on this channel, Mr. Sunshine Baby. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. So we're going to obviously take a quick look at the polls. You got 217 seats projected for the Conservatives. Bottom line, 190, top end 236. 99% likely winning the most seats, 99% likely of winning a majority government. Everything is looking just as it should there, except for this right here. The only thing that's not looking good is summer vacation in Canada. This is Pierre Poilievre on the official X account. Before Trudeau, you would get on a plane and look out the window, and now you're looking at a washing machine. It's kind of funny, but it's also really sad at the same time. Next up, we have global news that I don't even know what to believe anymore. There's just such a weird mix of things. They have an article that says fish oil supplements could increase the risk of heart problems, stroke, new research suggests, which is insane. I mean, it feels like the government, to some capacity, tells you need to drink more 3% milk because it's good for your bone structure. And then 5-10 years go by and they say, oh, it turns out 3% milk might cause cancer. Like, I don't understand the flip-floppiness of this stuff. And it's got a bit of a backlash. Global News has a bit of a backlash from posting that article. And speaking of backlash, for those of you that like soccer, or I guess the real term is called football, the one with your foot not geared up with pads, you have the Vancouver Whitecaps Football Club that are in the news because, for those who don't know, there's a real all-star player that has moved from European soccer or overseas soccer to North America, and that would be Messi. And Messi was supposed to make an appearance, Miami, that's who the team he plays for now. He was supposed to make an appearance in Vancouver, which is insane. I mean, Canada doesn't really get a whole lot of crazy superstars. The biggest superstar we have is, in sports, like Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews. Unfortunately, he's playing for the Leafs. God bless him. And then you got like Ryan Reynolds, and everybody loves Ryan Reynolds. And that's kind of it. Like, I mean, I'm probably missing a few, but for the most part, that's kind of our main people, our super popular people in Canada. And it was going to be a real treat. I mean, people bought tickets from all across the country to come to Vancouver for this game. Well, it turns out that Messi doesn't play on real turf or fake turf or whatever it is. He's got like a special type of turf that he plays on. So him and two other all-star players are not playing that game. So a lot of people are out a lot of money. And in order to compensate, the CEO of the Vancouver Whitecaps soccer team has issued an apology letter where they're offering 50% off of food and beverages in the stadium, and anyone under 18 will be provided a free kids meal combo in order to compensate for this devastating news, which is kind of weird. I mean, Vancouver, like their stadium is really behind times in terms of their turf. The turf that they have there is like it's like the worst turf, pretty much, from my understanding. So maybe it's time to update your shit, Vancouver. I don't know. And then you won't lose out on superstars like that. But if you've been affected by those ticket sales, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you missed out on the opportunity of seeing Messi play in Canada. That would have been pretty cool. All right, now let's get back to some actual news here. You have a Liberal MP who's saying that it is big oil propaganda to say that the carbon tax makes life more expensive. Kind of a weird take.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And again, ironic coming from a member who has been advocating and has actually written a petition to this House of Commons for Canada to leave the United Nations altogether. We see yet again more disinformation from the Conservative members on climate change and affordability, two issues that they either don't understand or simply don't care about. If they did care, they would acknowledge that Canada is reducing our pollution and inflation is coming down. But the Leader of the Opposition wants to scrap it all. He doesn't want Canadians to receive their Canada carbon rebate on July 15th. He just wants to make sure his rich oil and gas friends can pollute even more and get even richer, Mr. Speaker.
All right. So kind of weird that they're taking this approach. I don't know who's actually buying 8 out of 10 Canadians get more out of the rebate than what they put into it. It just doesn't make any sense. And it's kind of ironic because I just got off the phone with BC Hydro, right? I have a gas furnace and I'm thinking I need to add an air conditioner because I have a window AC. I don't have like central AC. So I got off the phone with BC Hydro and I'm talking to them about what my options are, if there's any rebates. By the way, if you're looking to add an air conditioner, BC Hydro is not the people to add an air conditioner. BC Hydro will try to sell you on a heat pump. And I have my rebates right now. It's just a super big coincidence that I'm making a video moments after I called BC Hydro. But apparently you can have a $3,000 rebate in BC and you can keep your gas furnace, but then they have to add in a heat pump. But the cost of adding in a heat pump is like tens of thousands of dollars. Or you get a $6,000 rebate where they take out your gas furnace and they add in a heat pump. And I said to the lady on the phone, I said, well, okay, is it going to cost $7,000? So I'm out of pocket only $1,000? And she said, no. It's going to cost you between $15,000 and $20,000 for that job. And I said, wow, okay. So I'm going to have minus 30, minus 40 degree Celsius winters here. How does that heat pump work? And she said, well, you might want to consider the other rebate where you get to keep your gas furnace. So even the people that are preaching these things, the whole moral of the story is they are preaching green energy, but you can't ignore the fact that in certain parts of Canada, electric stuff doesn't work. That's why phones die, cameras die, battery-powered devices die, including, but not limited to, battery-powered cars, I don't know, electric heat, such as a heat pump. It's not that efficient in the cold months. But I don't know. What do I know? It's not like these people here have ever experienced super cold weather. You know what? They haven't. They make their decisions wearing suits and ties in Ottawa. Next up, we have Justin Trudeau spreads misinformation by claiming government programs are free when they cost billions to fund. It's this type of gaslighting that adds more fuel to the fire. Or I guess you can't really say that because it's not environmentally friendly. So it adds a spark. It adds a spark and creates an electric fire. Maybe it's a better way of saying it instead of adds more fuel to the fire. Let's take a look at the video.
Over 2 million Canadian seniors have already signed up for our dental program, and in the 3 weeks since May 1st, 100,000 seniors have been able to receive dental care. This is real progress. Progress on care, progress on affordability. Bringing down the cost of medications and dental care is making life more affordable for Canadians. These measures are based on the idea that everyone in this country should have access to the care they need, no matter where they live or how much money they have in their bank account. And yet, the Conservative Party of Canada opposes this idea at every turn. They opposed free dental care for kids and now for seniors, including pushing on dentists across the country to not sign up to offer free dental care to vulnerable seniors. They oppose our plan to ensure that all women have access to free contraceptive medicine and devices. Think about that for a second in the local context. Your local Conservative MP here, who is their healthcare critic and a former doctor, stands against free dental care for seniors, free insulin for vulnerable diabetics, and free contraceptives for women. What kind of approach to health care or to supporting vulnerable Canadians is that? See, Conservatives are opposing measures that will support Canadians in their health choices and help them with the high costs of living. Conservative politicians want to take us backwards, but we will keep fighting for progress and for fairness for everyone, for every generation.
I'm so fed up, man, with this guy's gaslighting. He's a professional gaslighter. He's delusionary. I think that he needs to seek medical attention because he's huffing his own farts too much, or maybe he's sniffing glue or whatever he's doing, but it doesn't make any sense. And I did say at the beginning of this video that there was some good news, and now we're going to get into a bit of that good news because so far it's a bit depressing. So here we go, folks. You have the notorious serial killer, Robert Pickton, to remain in an induced coma after prison assault. For those who don't know, Robert Pickton, super duper bad guy, and he's fighting for his life apparently in a coma, which is a bit of a double-edged sword because people think that, well, on one side he committed insane crimes here in Canada, so he should have to suffer his entire life in prison instead of dying a shorter life. On the other end, bye, bitch. I don't know what to say.
Serial killer Robert Pickton will remain in a medically induced coma for the next few days following an attack in a Quebec prison. A spokesperson for Quebec Provincial Police say medical staff will try to determine if Pickton can live without life support. He was assaulted in Port Cartier Institution Sunday in what's being described as a major assault. He's serving a life sentence for 6 counts of second-degree murder. At the time of his trial, Pickton had been charged with the murders of 26 women, many of whom were Indigenous.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone feels bad for him in his current situation. And then on another positive note, I suppose, we have justice is finally being served. Remember that trucker that killed people in the 2018 Humboldt bus crash? Well, he's getting deported. It's official, folks.
Tracking some breaking news. The truck driver responsible for the Humboldt Broncos bus crash, that tragedy from 6 years ago, he has been ordered deported back to India. The decision coming in at the Immigration and Refugee Board hearing, not a big surprise given what happened and the fact that Jaskirat Singh Sidhu is a citizen of India, not Canada. In fact, his lawyers said the decision was basically a foregone conclusion. All it required for him to be deported was proof that he's not Canadian and that he committed a serious crime. Originally from India, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison after he pleaded guilty back in 2019. 16 people were killed on board that bus and 13 others were injured. The Humboldt Broncos hockey team was on the way to a game. It happened back in 2018. Last year, a judge rejected Sidhu's request to remain in Canada with his wife. So again, 6 years after that crash, Sidhu finally being deported back to India.
Still to this day, I see stickers on the back of cars that say strong with Humboldt. And that's incredible because that shocked the nation. And people are so angry still at what happened. So that's awesome news, I suppose. I mean, is the alternative that piece of crap rots in a Canadian jail or get out of here and go back to India? I don't know. I'd love to know if that's a win for the justice system here in Canada. Let me know down below in the comments. Next up, we have independent Toronto MP Kevin Vuong asks Pierre Poilievre, please, Mr. Pierre, can I join the Conservatives? To which Pierre has said no. Pierre has denied MP Kevin Vuong's ask to join the Conservative bench. We have sent a formal letter to the leader of the Conservatives expressing my desire to be able to join his caucus and work with him and his team. And Pierre has denied it because Pierre is sitting at over 200 projected seats. He doesn't need another independent member. But there's a lot of people that think that he would be a good addition to the Conservative bench. So let me ask you guys down below in the comments right now, take a second and let me know if you think that he would make a good fit on the Conservative side. Personally, I think it would be pretty good. I do. I think it would be good. But on the flip side, I don't know if, like, logistically it makes sense. But I think it'd be good. I don't mind him at all. Speaking of minding people, U.S. is not happy with Canada, not by a long shot. America had a bunch of U.S. senators had sent a letter to Justin Trudeau saying, hey, buddy, you got to pay up because Canada is behind on our defense spending. This is not looking good, folks. Justin Trudeau brags about how much of our GDP we spend. We're supposed to spend, I believe it's 2% of our GDP to contribute to defense spending. That's the NATO quota. And Trudeau, since he's been in, it's been like 1.5% at best. I think this year it might be at 1.76. We're getting closer, but that's not good enough. It's not at all good enough. It's like showing up consistently late for your job and your boss says, okay, it's really time for you to show up on time for your job. And then instead of showing up 30 minutes late, you show up 10 minutes late. It's like, hey, boss, I did it. I'm doing better. I mean, technically, yeah, you're doing better, but you're still late. Justin Trudeau is still behind on the payments. It's not looking good. Instead of investing in, I don't know, millions of dollars into an LGBTQ monument in Ottawa, why not put that money towards our defense spending and be on better terms with the 20 plus senators that sent a letter to Canada saying you had better pay up or shut up? Let's take a look at this video here.
A group of 23 U.S. senators has written a rare letter to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, urging Canada to meet its NATO defense spending commitment. The senators are pointing to last year's summit, where NATO leaders agreed to spend at least 2% of their GDP on defense. They argue Canada and other key member nations are still not pulling their weight, which is having an impact on the alliance. And CTV's Jeremy Sharon is standing by in Ottawa for us with more. Nice to see you, Jeremy. So what is prompting these U.S. senators to urge Canada to increase its defense spending?
Yeah, Renee, I think the timing is due to the fact we're about 2 months away from a NATO summit in Washington, D.C. And so that's why these senators are choosing to raise some of their concerns. As you touched on, they feel as though some of the key NATO members are not pulling their weight when it comes to defense spending. We know that Canada, along with other countries, are not meeting that 2% target. There are 32 NATO members. Out of those 32, 18 are projected by the end of 2024 to meet that 2% target. Canada is not one of those countries, but that also means Canada is not alone. Now, senators say that they chose to write to the Prime Minister Trudeau, rather than the leaders of some of the other countries, due to the fact they feel, unlike some of the other countries, Canada doesn't seem to have a plan to get to that 2% target. We know that Canada has a new defense policy update to spend more money over the next 5 years on defense, but it does not get us to that 2% target. And so that is the criticism from these senators. Now, there are also concerns about what it could mean for Canada if we don't meet that spending target. If we were to get into a situation in the U.S. again, where Donald Trump were to become president again. And we'll let you listen into a little bit of what former Chief of the Defense Staff, Tom Lawson, had to say about that potential situation.
There is a growing recognition that there's a high risk the next president will be President Trump. And for any senators who see NATO as a very important alliance, these 23, quite clearly, they would like to clear away as many excuses as they can, I think, for President Trump to take some significant actions that they think would be detrimental to NATO, like pulling out entirely, or more likely declaring kind of a two-tier NATO where those who don't pay up aren't really going to be protected if attacked.
You know what we need? We need somebody who actually gives a damn about our country, our country's reputation, and our country's economy. And Justin Trudeau has proven time and time again that he's not that person. He's not meeting other quotas. He's walking around like he's the king of Turd Island, king shit at Turd Island. It doesn't make any sense. You have a quota, bro. Meet the quota or get out of the alliance. I mean, I don't know what it would look like if Canada wasn't a part of NATO, but I don't know if I want to particularly stick around to find out. I think that we have a pretty big obligation to our alliance, our global alliance to pay our fees and do what must be done. Instead, we're spending billions of dollars on other countries' shit when we don't even have our own stuff in order. It's like loaning money to not even friends, to like people that acquaintances or like colleagues, right? And you're behind on your own bills. It does not make any sense. I don't like that. And not if Trump gets in, but when Trump gets in, he is going to hammer Canada. He's going to increase the cost of so many deals that we have. It's going to get so freaking expensive because Trump is pro-America and Trudeau is not pro-Canada. He's not doing what's in Canada's best interest. And it's not good. I mean, at least the good news out of this is that Pierre Poilievre is more respectable than Justin Trudeau, especially when he meets other global leaders. And when it comes time, inevitably, for Pierre Poilievre to stack up with Trump on that handshake, I think Pierre is going to do a really good job of doing that handshake with President Donald Trump. And now what you must be asking yourself, if you are, what do you mean that handshake? For those who don't know, Trump has like a very distinct handshake where he grabs your hand, he pulls you in, and if you move a little bit, yeah, you kind of lost, right? Now, Justin Trudeau has stacked up against Trump on that handshake, and he's done a half decent job, but Pierre's bigger, Pierre's stronger, and Pierre is trying to puff his chest up a little bit more and make Canada more respectable. Get back to being a respectable country. Get back to being somewhat of a heavy hitter on the world stage, and Trudeau's not that guy. So this is just, it's really, really sad that we're not even meeting our budget needs of 2%. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's just 2%, and we're failing short. So much so that senators are sending a letter. They're teaming up and they're sending a letter to Trudeau saying, pay your bill. Oh my goodness. So here you have a CTV panel. That's the whole purpose of this panel, is what impact will the letter from the U.S. senators have on Canada? Let's take a quick look at this for those that are still watching.
NDP leader Tom Mulcair. Hello, everybody. Very nice to see you. Tom, I'll start with you. I thought it was interesting that this letter happened just days after this big trip to the U.S. to try and reemphasize how close the ties between our two countries are. Does this matter against that backdrop, this letter?
It matters a great deal. First of all, I think Trudeau was completely right to start laying the groundwork for a better relationship and making people in different states understand that we are the biggest trading partner that the United States has, and more often than not, the biggest trading partner of their individual states. So that's good, useful work. But Vashti, I'll share that in our line of work, you wind up talking to a bunch of people and people ask to meet you. And I was surprised by the forthrightness of the position that a very senior American diplomat shared with me. And it was not somebody from a background that was anything opposed to Canada, not somebody with an axe to grind, but it was simply putting out facts about the lack of preparedness, the lack of supply, the lack of depth, the inability to do more than put a few thousand people into the fray if ever it came to that. And he just said, with your proud military history, I'm so surprised that Canada is letting down the side the way it is. And it was clear, it was not partisan, and it was something you had to take to heart because the Americans are paying attention to this. So this is not somebody doing Trump's bidding. This is a group of American senators saying, what's happened? How come you're not pulling your fair share of the load? And I think that that's something that Canadians should be paying attention to a lot more.
Yeah, truly a bipartisan group, Christy, and also included in that group many senators who have a close relationship with Canada. I was mentioning earlier on the show, Senator Chris Coons, a huge advocate for issues around foreign policy that we face. Senator Joe Manchin, who made a trip to Alberta, if I remember correctly, a few years ago to help try and spur, the relationship around energy. Do you think that this matters politically?
Oh, yeah, I think it matters a lot. I mean, there's no doubt our two economies are integrated and free trade benefits the Americans just as much as it benefits us. Well, probably not just as much. And that's the thing, is that, they are the big partner and we are the little partner. And when you're the little partner, you always have a much bigger investment in trade than the other partner does. I mean, some of our provinces get I think over 95% of their trade goes to the United States. Imagine if the Americans decided, because they didn't think we were living up to our obligations, which we are not on the international stage, that they wanted to shut down trade from some provinces. When I was the Premier of British Columbia, we were proud that we got our trade down to 49% with the United States, which is a record, I think, in Canada. We are all incredibly dependent on them, and we can't stand around and just say, well, they benefit, we benefit. We benefit a lot more than they do. And I can tell you, while Americans are spending a huge amount of their government's money, their taxpayers' money on defense, Canadians are spending all that defense money on healthcare and education. So, we've been really getting a free ride for a long time. And I don't think it's unreasonable for our American neighbors to say, you know what? The free ride's over. We expect.
Never mind healthcare and education. Canada's spending all of our what should be defense money on Ukraine right now. Like, tack on the $6 billion that we've sent, or whatever billion number of dollars we've spent to Ukraine, and let's just play a what if game. What if we didn't send that money to Ukraine, whether it's a no repayment gift or whether it's on a loan, it don't matter. And what if we actually use those billions of dollars and put that into our defense budget? We might not have received those letters from U.S. senators. I don't understand the level of incompetence that our current Liberal government has, that Trudeau has. He doesn't see this as an issue. The American election is this year. And when Trump wins, because we've all seen the rallies that Trump has, it's insane. I mean, there's no possible reason how Donald Trump could lose, okay? When Trump wins, he's going to crack down on Canada and say, you're failing here, you're failing there, you're failing there, Trudeau, you're fired, right? Or whatever he says. It's going to be it could be catastrophic for Canada. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating. Maybe I'm uneducated. Maybe I'm just dumb. But let me know down below in the comments what you think about this. Could there be a significant impact on Canada and America trades if we don't live up to our expectations? It seems like we have a couple more months before that summit meeting in Washington, as you heard earlier in the video. So there's a little bit more time to figure things out, but it's not looking good right now. That's where we're going to end today's video, folks. I'd like to encourage you guys one last time to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet already, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.